So today I'm going to answer the question, should you train for climbing? Hey everyone, it's Bryan with some more Bomber Beta. I'm doing a multi-part series on how to build a training plan for climbing. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button below and tick that bell notification so you get notified when I release more videos. Before I get started, I want to give out a quick disclaimer. I am not a trainer, so if you have the ability to pay for a trainer, feel free to do that. But this is a free video that I'm providing for you guys that might give you some insight into building a routine for yourself. And I have used this same exact process to build a routine that got me up to climbing V11 or 8A boulders. So I think a lot of people jump into training without ever asking themselves if they should train at all. But I think the first thing we need to do is find out the reasons why we shouldn't train. So I think the first reason why we shouldn't train is if we haven't been climbing for at least 1 year. Reason being is climbing is a skill sport, and you probably have not developed enough skill to really harness the strength that you have. So I think if you haven't been climbing for at least 1 year, just spend as much time as you can climbing on the wall, getting a variety of different boulder problems, sport climbs if you're lead certified, or top roping, just to get used to climbing, learning the skills, learning the techniques, before we try to build up a base of strength. The second reason is if you're climbing under the V5 or the 12A level of climbing, I don't think it's really important for you to try to up your strength. I think that most people will get to that strength level by just climbing if they spend enough time. So if you're not climbing at that level, I don't think it's a good idea to train regularly. If you want to add in a couple things, that's fine. But if you're not at that level, try to spend as much time climbing as you can and don't focus as much on things like finger strength and things like that, because right now you just need to get better at climbing and then we can go from there. The third reason why I think you should not train for climbing is if you, one, don't have enough time, or two, don't have the equipment to train. If you don't have the time to dedicate, you're not going to get better if you don't spend enough time training for climbing. And if you don't have the right equipment, you might as well just go and climb. Don't waste your time trying to do it halfway. This is something that you need to really focus on to get better at. The fourth thing is if you have an injury or any underlying condition, you want to consult a medical professional before trying to train for climbing. Be very careful here because training can put really severe loads on your tendons, small parts of your body that aren't often used in everyday life. So this can give you a higher probability of getting injured. So just be very careful and make sure if you have any underlying conditions or nagging injuries, get that checked out by a medical professional before trying to start training for climbing. And the last reason is, does training for climbing help you meet your goals? Now this is something that I'm going to go on to in the next part of this series, so make sure you subscribe so you get notified for that video about goals. But goal setting is very important, and it's something that we need to do in order to know if we're training for climbing for the right reasons. So if it's not going to help you meet your goals, then I would not suggest training for climbing. Now, if I've missed anything, go ahead and leave it down in the comments below of reasons that you would not train for climbing. So now moving on to some benchmarks that you might want to consider before training for climbing. Now, these are some things that will kind of tell you if you have a good basis of strength before you want to start to try to increase that. Because if you don't have that basis of strength, the safest and easiest thing to do will just be continue at climbing at a comfortable level, and you will slowly but gradually get better at climbing and get stronger at climbing. So the first thing that you should do is do a two-handed hang, dead hang, on a 20mm edge for 10 seconds with just your body weight. You can find this at most climbing gyms. On any hangboard will have between an 18 and 20mm edge. It doesn't matter too much here, but the important thing is hanging for 10 seconds, you should be able to do pretty easily with body weight. If this is at all difficult for you, I would consider not training for climbing and just continue climbing at the gym until your fingers develop to the point where that is very comfortable for you. The second thing that you want to do is be able to do at least 10 pull-ups with body weight on a bar or the jugs on a hangboard very easily. I think this is a good benchmark to kind of say, I have a pretty good pull strength and I can start to try to develop those muscles. If you can't do 10 pull-ups, it doesn't mean that you can't train for climbing. A lot of strong climbers do not have very good pull-up strength, but you don't want to start training heavy pull-ups at low reps if you can't at least do 10 at body weight. And the last thing to test your core, a good thing to do is to do an L sit. Hang from a bar, straight arms, and put your legs out at a 90-degree angle. Try to hold it for around 20 seconds. If you can do this, you've shown that you have a decent core that's prepared to try to get stronger and get ready to climb some harder, steeper climbs. Now remember that these 3 things only tell you if you have a good foundation of strength that is prepared to try to train for climbing. There's a lot of other things that you could consider here, but I think let's keep it simple here and just to see about where we are before we start diving into a intense hangboard workout when we can't even hang for 10 seconds with body weight on a 20mm edge. That would be a bad idea, probably leading to injury, and that would put us back months of time progressing in our climbing. So these are some general things that can help us determine if we're a good candidate to try to start training for climbing. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you if you are ready to train for climbing. It's something that you're ultimately going to have to decide for yourself. But if you think you're ready, go ahead and subscribe, because I'm going to be releasing a series of videos that's going to go over how to build a training routine that will help you progress at climbing over months and months and months. So I'll catch you in the next one.